Welcome back to Blood, Books, and Binge-Watching. Megan here, as always, with my great friend and co-host Rachel. Before we get started today, we need to take a moment of silence to acknowledge the fact that we should have had the next From Blood and Ash book on June 10th. As we know, JLA announced that she's split the last book of this series into two since it was simply so large. And we love that. But now the next book actually comes out in September. So instead of 2 days as of this recording on June 8th, we should have this book in our hands 2 days from now. We have to wait 3 months. So we take a moment to mourn the fact that we don't know what's about to happen.
Yes, and we know good things take time. Great things take time. So we will just impatiently be patient.
Exactly. Like we're gonna love what's coming. It's just the waiting is like agony.
It is. The edging continues.
Mm-hmm. Dang. Yeah, that's the slogan of this series.
Yes.
So with that, I do want to briefly give a shout out. You might notice I have some new art on my wall. I got this for my birthday from our lovely friend Mel. You can find them on Instagram at prose.pixels. And she's just wonderful. We love Mel so much.
She just did some amazing Crescent City Otter art.
Yes.
Obsessed. We have the best server in all of Discord. I'm just saying.
Literally everybody in this server has so much talent in whatever they love. It's so great to see. So yeah, she made this incredible Nosferatu art, and as soon as she posted it in the Discord, I was on top of her saying, "How can I purchase this? I need to have it." And she was just a doll and sent it to me for my birthday as a gift, and I freaking adore it. So it's gonna be next to me. If you're creeped out by it, so sorry, but it's not coming down.
This is a horror podcast.
True. I know that From Blood and Ash isn't strictly horror, but it's gonna stay up.
Yes, it is. Hey, she's crying primal tears of grief.
She is. Look at that. Oh my god, Ellen a primal confirmed now. I wish I could tell you I was excited for this episode, that I was looking forward to rereading these books. But I will be completely honest with you all, as I've always been. I simply am not. I won't say anything further at this point, but just like I know last episode you saw a different Megan, this is another different Megan. These next 2 weeks, I'm gonna be in a state.
Especially next week.
Oh yes, just you wait.
So, quick announcement. We only have one right now. Our ball countdown. Are you guys ready? We are at 43 days.
Yes.
43 days. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh, seeing that number go down is just giving me a rush. It's incredible. Like, I remember looking at my countdown when it's at 100 days. And now we're less than that. Like, less than half of that way. I'm like, I just can't.
And my dress search continues. So we're going to add that into the announcement. The day that I get my dress, I'm going to be blowing off an air horn, everything in here. So that's on our countdown too.
I'm going to start looking for you. Send me your measurements. I will look for you.
Yeah, the indecisiveness is horrible. It's really horrible. Anyway, so moving into this book, Soul of Ash and Blood, adding on to the never-ending list of why I love this series, a little opposite of how Megan felt at the end of this book, but why we love JLA. This book specifically was really like falling back in love with the series all over again for me. Especially if you've done the tandem read, which we have. We're so deep in at this point between both timelines that this book was just such a beautiful way to really take us back to the beginning. It also completely reinforces my indecisiveness on which MMC I choose to love more. So we're just going to pick both.
That's right. Come back to me. Come back.
I'll save my Nyctos soap for Fire and Flesh when I need to rope you in. But for now.
All right. I guess you have 2 more books, so.
We can't have both.
I wish.
So we get not only a really impressive retelling of our story up to where we ended at the end of War of Two Queens, but we also get all of the lore from both series tied in so seamlessly in this one, which I thought, kudos to JLA as an author, because what she did in this is, I feel like it's incredibly hard to pull it off as well as she did.
I agree 100%. I cannot fathom how one's brain does this. So
Seriously.
fascinates me.
Yeah. So finally, we get the POV in this book that we didn't even know we were getting. And with that, we will be switching POVs for this episode. So
what? Oh my God.
Yeah. Side note, if you've ever done a podcast or never done a podcast, there's a lot of work that goes into what we're doing. So we're splitting the load. The load. So without further ado, here we go. Hold on. I almost said the wrong name of the book. Fucking book of this, Soul of Ash and Blood. Okay. So without edging you guys any longer, here we go. Soul of Ash and Blood, Part 1. All right. So if you have not read this book, or if you're reading it for the first time, the way that this book is structured is we get some present timeline interactions, and then we're going back through memories. We'll help keep everyone on track by announcing certain chapter titles when we're in the present tense. So here we go. Beginning of the book. Present 1. Quick disclaimer, the trigger warnings for this episode will include PTSD and mentions of self-harm and assault. So we're in Casteel's POV. And if you're listening on audio, we have a male narrator.
And he's good. Yeah. I really like him.
Yeah, he really is. We're in mid-fight with some vampiries, seems to be picking up immediately after the end of War of Two Queens. So remember that Millicent and Malik are now missing, and they ran off. Nyktos and Sarah are awake somewhere, as well as Colas. We've got a lot going on. Poppy looks pale, and her skin is cold. And guess what she's got? She's got fangs. She got little beef. Nyktos is also here in case you forgot about him. He's weary of Poppy and says she's a lot like someone that his bloodline descended from. So who are we thinking? Ates, maybe? The ground shakes, but it's not Poppy. One of the gods woke nearby. Fuck. Likely Penelope. Nyktos calls Kieran, Poppy, and Cass adorable. We love that. They really are. Now making their way through the tunnels again, they start to approach Iris, who's still caged. Who's Iris? Poppy's father. Nyktos speaks to Iris as the cave cat lunges at the Shadowstone bars of the cage. He's fearful Iris has been in this state for far too long, might have already lost himself as a result. There was a tidbit of lore a while ago that if they stay in a certain form too long, they're gonna be lost.
Yeah. So he's it's like a fingers crossed situation for sure.
Before Cass can catch her, Poppy reaches to the bars and touches Iris, feeding him the good memories because, like, this is her father. She's like, I can't not help him. I've been helping all of these people that I didn't even have a connection with, and this is my biological father. You know, and Iris slowly shifts, looks painful, and he's back in his human form again. Poppy introduces herself, and Nyktos approaches inside the cage, having burnt some of it away.
I will always love when Nyktos or any Draken just use their fire in their mortal form. I just think it's so cool that their like jaw just like unhinges and they just like fire. It's so cool.
That they can just tap into that. Like what?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so Nyktos says he's come to take Iris home. And Iris is able to speak and says he knows who Poppy is and asks where Millicent is, his other girl.
Like as a daughter to a girl dad, just this interaction and him, like, we always would have assumed that he was aware that he had two daughters, but also we don't know if Isbeth ever, told him that she gave birth or not. So yeah, just watching this interaction and their reunion and just immediately how, like, the concern immediately. So yeah. Daughter to a girl dad. Ooh. That was sweet. That was a rough one, but I loved it. It's such a beautiful reunion, and it immediately shows you what Iris is like, especially just coming out of this state as well.
Yeah, because this is our first interaction with him. You know? And Iris says he knows where Jadis is. Thank God.
Tell us so we can go get her. I know she's not a baby anymore, but she's always a baby. She's
Yeah.
still young.
Because I can't remember, how long has Iris been down here? It's been a while, right?
A while for sure. But you got to figure what I think. Oh no, we haven't got there yet. It's a little ways down, so I don't want to
Yeah.
spoil this really cute part that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we know that she's obviously younger than Reaver, and we get the idea from what Nectus is going to be telling us that Reaver's old, but still young in terms of like Draken age, essentially. So we can imagine, I don't know, I non-canonically put Jadis as like 18 in human years.
Yeah,
maybe.
Same here. So she's in Willow Plains, and then Iris passes out from exhaustion because that's a lot. You just, shifted back. Your daughter's here. Nectus is here. WTF is going on. Nectus needs to get him home so he can go to ground and properly heal.
So he's got to go into stasis.
Yeah, going for the big nap.
Yeah.
Poppy starts planning out going to Willow Plains, but gets dizzy, has a headache. Great. Nectus asks if she slept, like a deep sleep, stasis at the end of her ascension. Has that happened? Nope, she sure hasn't.
Sure hasn't.
No.
Poppy take care of herself? What?
What?
Who do you think she is?
Do you know her? He tells her she better sit down. It could happen at any moment. Poppy's headache gets worse. And then what happens? She collapses.
God damn it. Fuck! Just the lead up to this and how Nectus is like, you might want to sit down. I'm like, don't you fucking dare. Why is this from Casteel's point of view?
Yeah.
Don't. And then she collapses and I'm done. I can't.
We're thrown right into it.
I devastated.
Yeah. I need to make like a cute little graphic or something for Megan's, some type of meter for you. I'm gonna have to come up with something.
Right. I don't even know what it would be labeled. I'll have to ponder it.
Your stasis meter. No.
Oh my god, how I wish I was in stasis until this next fucking book came out.
So she's gone into stasis to finish the culling as she sleeps, and Nectus can't say for how long. So, useful.
Guess she's just asleep for however long now. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then he lays on another caveat. Some that go into stasis wake and lose their memory, don't remember who they are, or the people around them. It's only happened twice, but it's still a possibility.
And I just... What?
This is a great start.
What? You mean to tell me that Poppy might not know who she is? After all this? What the fuck, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that's on the table at this point now just escalated by like a million.
Yeah, like totally like appropriate time for this to be happening, of course.
Yeah, her and Casteel just got back together. Why not? Let's just all gas.
I'm simply frustrated.
Yep. So Nectus tells them to talk to her. Kind of, if someone's in a coma, that's always advised, talk to them. They're still in there. Mm-hmm. It's what Nyktos did to Sarah when she went into stasis, and it helped him. So Poppy is down for the count. Not sure when she'll be back. What fucking territory are we walking into here? Okay.
For real. And also, pause for a second. Let's go back. Because what do you mean when Sarah went into her stasis? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously, as everyone knows, I haven't finished Fire in the Flesh. We both haven't read Born of Blood and Ash. So, haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, the only information that we know up to this point is at the War of Two Queens, where it is mentioned about the sleeping consort and that she was asleep. That was it.
So,
but we don't know how she got to that. Yeah, we don't fucking know what happened.
Yeah, I think just for me too, the context of saying clarifying it as stasis. I always feel like when they say oh, they went to sleep, I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. But now having the context of stasis when a primal's wounded, when they need to recover, it's fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Definitely.
So they hunker down in Wayfair, having no other choice. The Wolven have already started securing the palace. And Nail has gone to find Millicent and Malik. Everyone clears out of the room, but Cass and Kieran, and they're going to talk to her. Cass begins and says,
I don't think I've told you what it was like before I became your guard. Everything I did and how it all changed. How I changed because of you. Because of you.
I won't change too far from the sidewalk. I can't wait to do karaoke with you one day.
Dude, we're gonna rip up karaoke. Are you kidding me? They're gonna have to kick us out.
They better have it at the ball. I'm just saying. I will bring a machine. I'll bring a
If it's
mobile
not at the
karaoke
ball,
machine.
I mean, we don't want to get kicked out of the hotel.
But we must.
So we won't do it at the hotel.
No.
But no, someday it's going to happen.
So as Casteel begins to talk to her, he starts from the beginning on the rise. So we're in Cass's POV, back on the rise in Macedonia before he met Poppy. Also, everyone knows Casteel and Hawk are the same person. We're going to bounce around between names. You guys know it's the same guy. Cass, under the cover, is Hawk. Hawksteel.
Hawksteel return.
Hawksteel, return of Hawksteel. He's talking to another guard, Pence. Hearing his inner thoughts of what we now know is the truth contradicts the reality he is living in among the people further proves we wouldn't survive a day undercover.
No.
At all.
Mm-mm.
No.
Too many things to keep up in the head. Like, I'm lucky I have an alert on my phone for changing my laundry, and sometimes I even forget that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, undercover life is not for us.
Absolutely not. At the mention of the maiden, we are further propelled back into the first book. Pence speaks of the Dark One interfering with the upcoming rite. And he's not wrong. Not wrong.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Hawk is being reprimanded by a lieutenant, or trying to be, but his wit seemingly gets him out of trouble, of course, or into more, yet to be determined. Lieutenant threatens to get Commander Jansen. We haven't heard that in a while. Yeah. And Casteel's wit, he goes to insult on Jansen's vision and memory. It just absolutely showcases his smart ass. Love it. He's silently tracking a man who has come back from fighting the Craven, and he can smell the rot on him. He looks into the distance to Castle Tierman, to the maiden who's out of reach, but not for long. Hawk thinks about the maiden, how he's never heard her speak. She's a mystery and one that has intrigued him. He stalks through the dormitories on a mission. He's at the room of the man from earlier, the one that's suspected of being bitten by a Craven. And really quick, when Casteel is talking about this, he's really elaborating on how the whole manipulation of the curse, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that the Ascended has portrayed, where if you're bit by a Craven, there's going to be a white cloth that's put outside your door to mark that, hey, this person has been bitten, and, who risked treason to provide quick, dignified deaths to the infected. And it's considered treasonous and punishable by death. So it just, I don't know, it just pisses me off so much. Further lays the groundwork for how horrible the Ascended are.
Oh, yeah, and the fact that the deaths are publicized in public, round them up, all that jazz. It's like, it's insane, the amount of manipulation they are able to do while doing these horrible things.
It's infuriating.
We can relate.
Yeah. So the man, Joel, confirms that he's been cursed. Joel says he would have gone to them. She would have come for him to give him dignity. We know who that is. We know who she is, right?
That we do. Also, just reading this about a man who's been bitten by something and cursed with something, and having his name be Joel, and just having finished The Last of Us season 2, I'm like,
this is. I was as I was reading that, I was like, oh my god, wait.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's not spelt Jole, but it's pronounced Jole.
Yeah, and I forgot to tell you, I did watch the finale, and yeah, we'll save that. We'll save that for whenever we do a segment on Last of Us.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that. So yeah,
Hawk
he's talking about Poppy. He's talking about Poppy.
Yeah. Hawk, understanding Joel is referring to the maiden, he gives the man death with dignity himself. So we bow to you, because love a considerate king. Pretty sure he uses compulsion in this moment. He lulls the man into his happy place, his dreams, and then Casteel kills him quickly without any pain.
Yeah, he gives him the look at the rabbits kind of deal, only using the compulsion to physically make him see it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's very sweet. It did have a slight scent of that.
It was, and it was very similar to how Poppy, when she goes in and
they each kind of take those people's pain in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So an omen. Ooh. Ooh. And from Blood and Ash, we saw Poppy sneaking glances at Hawk. Now we see it the other way around. And he's training with Victor.
Ooh.
With Victor.
R.I.P.
So painful.
Can't wait to relive that.
Can't wait. So
Can't
excited. Victor gives him some advice, not kindly. All it takes is a second for your enemy to gain the upper hand, you know. It's funny to hear Cass think of Victor as young while Victor calls him boy, not knowing Victor is actually old as fuck.
Yeah. I was like, as I'm reading that, I'm like, oh, it's such a funny little like back and forth because like Victor calls him boy, and then Casteel's like, I'm older than you think I am. You think
Right.
you're calling me a boy, but whereas then Victor's like, bitch, you think you're older than I am. So I just think it's such like knowing all of that context now, it makes that interaction so much funnier.
Peacocking who's fucking older.
Yeah.
And Hawk feels like his advice is a warning, an omen. So now we're back in Casteel's POV in the present tense. And as per the chapter titles, this one being present too, all of the ones labeled present as current time, Cass is talking to a sleeping Poppy. The others are the past stories that he's telling her, again, recapping where we've gone, what all has happened on this journey so far, because it's a lot. And Casteel's point of view is pretty important.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So Casteel cleans Poppy with a cloth, and as he tells her about Victor, how he wasn't too impressed with Cass from the jump, and reflects on how he thought she spoke in whispers. Imagine that.
Imagine Poppy speaking in whispers. What? Never.
And now we're kind of shifting back who I was. Hawk sits with Jansen talking about the maiden, speaking of their plans to take her and the fallout. Jansen's children were killed by the Ascended. Jericho is there too. The one who nearly kills her later on, if we remember him.
That fuckface.
I know. Cass makes
all these people. Sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
no,
to
no,
interrupt.
you're
like
good.
all these fucking people that are coming back that we were rid of, and then we're just like,
yeah,
you again.
Yeah,
but at least we know you're going away.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, like, just a testament to JLA's writing skills to do that, to, like, as a reader, trigger those emotions all over again, like, reading it for the first time. I just, like, I'll save that comment for later. Cass makes a point to tell him not to harm her. He makes sure to tell Jericho, don't fucking touch her, right? They speak about the blind spot in the gardens, the planning of the death of another one of her guards, right? He's like, I've got this plan, we got to make an opening. Kieran is here!
Yeah. Kieran! Woohoo!
And he's not a fan of Jericho, offering to kill him if needed. He and Casteel are both dressed in the black of the royal army, so they're in disguise. The heraldry on it is a circle with an arrow piercing the center. Remember, there's lots of mention of all the different symbols, you know, on all the different banners representing the different powers. And this one on their heraldry is the royal crest of the kingdom of Solus, and it stands for infinity and power, but in ancient Atlantean, it represents death. So I thought that was very interesting. Just thinking about what we know so far with, you know, we'll have to do an entire section on that. I don't know when, but we'll have to do an entire segment on that.
Maybe at some point, maybe once we wrap up the whole
series,
up
everything.
We'll do like a, hey, if we can even compile our thoughts at that point.
Yeah. It needs its own moment.
Yeah.
So Kieran and Cass are planning to make their move to take the maiden at the upcoming rite. I'm sorry, Kieran, Cass, and the entire undercover party, right? They're planning their move. Kieran brings up the fact that she was born in a shroud. We've heard that quite often. Atlanteans born in a shroud, also a call, are chosen by the gods. But there's no way that this is a possibility, right?
No way.
Right. So Cass wasn't always the dark one, but the path that he's on now to free his brother has kind of given life to that side of him, kind of embracing that. He's a little angry. So Casteel and Kieran are at the Red Pearl now. Kieran teases Casteel that this is an odd place to spend his time alone. The distractions only keep Casteel's thoughts at bay until they don't, though. So he's really struggling over the guilt over Malik being held captive. Like, that is his main focus at this point. Free my brother. So he's literally focused on kidnapping the maiden and using, you know, like, I gotta get my brother.
Yeah, he's still got that just like straightforward mindset. Like, that's it.
That's it.
It's really interesting to see him in that state of mind where obviously we know very quickly he goes back on that.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. But yeah, so it's, yeah, like you already said, testament to JLA and her writing, just like, yeah. And also just seeing it from that perspective as well. It's really cool.
It is how it's like she gives her characters so much depth.
Yes.
There's so much depth to them. So footsteps are heard outside of his door at the Red Pearl, and the handle begins to turn. He quickly moves into the shadows, and someone wearing a familiar cloak enters, but the scent is different.
Mhm.
He rushes this mystery woman, and her scent reminds him of Honeydew
Ooh, from the jump.
from
He
the
is
jump.
like Honeydew.
I missed that part from the very beginning. Like the first time I read this, I did not pick that up.
Oh, really? Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was head over heels. I'm like, oh my god.
Yes. So we've seen this movie before, this entire scene, and we've just unlocked our second point of view. He thinks he's talking to Britta, but we all know that's a big, juicy lie.
Mm-hmm.
Cass's inner dialogue of loving this mysterious woman's curves is also a huge win.
I melt for it anytime he talks about her body, and
Yeah.
I will bring it up every freaking time.
Yeah, because he's like, as he's realizing it's not Britta, he's like, it wasn't a thin body underneath me. There was lots of curves that I couldn't wait to get into. And I was like, oh my God, love that. And, you know, after all of the super hot, touchy, feely moments that we get to revisit, Casteel realizes he's with the queen's favorite, the maiden. Yep. Love it. Casteel has won the lottery for the mission he's on because, to quote him directly, what in the wide kingdom of fucks was the untouched maiden doing in the Red Pearl? I love that.
You're correct. What is she doing there?
I just love that one, the wide kingdom of fucks.
Yeah.
So the nickname comes into play and we get to revisit our very first taste of the banter. You've wounded me, princess. Love it. Cass is wondering where her guards are. And the morally gray meter takes its very first tick. He makes some comment about, you know, I'm going to have to kill someone, basically.
Yeah.
He gains an elevated sense of insight with realizing the maiden is seeking pleasure, experience life by visiting the Red Pearl. We get to revisit the delicious scene full of tension, Casteel being smooth as fuck. And as Casteel is called away, he knows if she's not waiting for him when he returns, that he will find her again.
Yeah. I think he even thinks, he's like, she probably wouldn't be there, but you know, I'll hope.
There's always hope.
Yeah. I just thought that was so sweet.
I know. So Casteel's called away from the Red Pearl, and he's now in Wisher's Grove with Kieran. Kieran's grilling him about the scent that he's picking up on after Casteel's rubbing all over our maiden. That lovely tension. And Kieran immediately clocks Casteel being more reserved about sharing the locker room talk, because Kieran's like, yo, who were you with? Like, what were you doing? Right. Casteel's like, it's nothing.
Yeah. He's like, what do you mean it's nothing? We literally share everything. There will be a scene later that we'll get to in part 2 that very clearly you see that there is no boundaries between them when it comes to talking about the sex.
So Casteel finally shares that he was with the maiden, and Kieran is simply aghast in this moment, and I love it so much.
I love Kieran so much more in this book.
I do too.
I did, obviously, reading it the first time, because one, we get more of him, but also we just see him and Casteel's dynamic between the two of them before Poppy enters, like, that relationship is hysterical. Like, you can totally see, like, the brotherly love, like, deep friendship connection, because they're also just so loose with each other like that. Like, what the fuck do you mean you were with the maiden and you didn't do anything?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just they're so straight up with each other. At least Kieran is with Casteel, and now he's not being.
Right.
Vice versa. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading their friendship on a deeper level between the two of them in this book.
I know, it's so good. We get so much goodness between them. Yeah, Kieran's like thrown back that one, like, oh my God, you were with the maiden. And then he moves into like, well, why didn't you take her? Like, that's what we're here for. Casteel
Easy pickings, and you didn't do anything?
Exactly. Like, prime opportunity, bro. What are you doing? And Casteel says he would have had to use compulsion to, like, knock her out and get her out of the room. And Kieran is super suspicious because Casteel is being entirely too reasonable, like, very out of character. And we get the glimpse of the empathy of Casteel not wanting to taint Poppy's moments of freedom. I thought that was a very interesting insight this early on in the book where, what was it, 2 chapters ago, he was dead set on just his brother's freedom.
Right. And now one interaction.
One interaction.
But she's a person. There's more to her than this. Yeah.
So we arrive at a meeting point. Kieran and Casteel arrive at a meeting point. Emil and another Wolven named Arden are here, and there's an update on how things in Spess's End are going. Things are looking good. Crops are about to be harvested. Homes are being built. And Casteel asks about I can't remember how to pronounce this. Evemon, yeah. Evemon, our capital of Atlantia. And Emil shares that the king and queen are worried about what Casteel has been up to this long. Because remember, he didn't tell his parents what he was going off to do.
Right.
And that Alistair...
You know how we said that there's characters in this book that came back that we really hate that we have to read about again?
Yeah. It's for the plot.
It's for the plot. It always has a meaning. It's fine.
He keeps fucking coming back.
We know he fucking dies. It's fine.
Yes. But even Casteel in this moment knows like that Alistair is he's not helping. He's like continuing to run his mouth through the king and queen. You know, he's awful, stupid. Yeah. Kieran believes the woods are haunted. I just thought that was an interesting tidbit to throw in.
Oh yeah, because it's a rumor around, I think, Macedonia or something, that the woods around them are haunted. And so Kieran's like, yeah, I believe that.
And my lore brain, because we just came off of Flesh and Fire, my lore brain is like, I can't wait to see if it's somehow connected, if something, I don't know. So yeah, that's why I was like, this is interesting. So the whole point of this meetup is Emil is here to help Casteel feed. And the memory that Casteel has while he's feeding off of Emil is of Vanetta.
Ooh.
He's like, okay. I think he has described, he's like, as he was feeding, he like grins to himself because he's like, why the fuck would Emil be thinking of Vanetta?
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's also worth noting that Emil is also of the elemental bloodline. Remember our lore from forever ago that Casteel is an elemental Atlantean and they can only feed off of other elementals. So Casteel asks Emil to keep an eye on Alistair because the fucker wants war. So it's officially confirmed even more that Megan's sixth sense about Alistair from the very beginning was on freaking point. Just have to give you kudos for that. You're welcome.
And I will say, one of our friends is reading through these. We convinced our friend Kat, like not me and Rachel, but like our collective From Blood and Ash family, convinced them to start reading the book. And she obviously won't listen to this until she gets to this point, so she won't be a spoiler for her.
Oh,
but
she's
like,
not here yet.
No, she hasn't read the books.
Oh,
so she wouldn't be listening.
I thought you were talking about the other cat. Okay, I know.
No.
Oh, yes.
Cat with a K.
So wait, hold on. Tell me real quick what happened.
No, like she's already starting to be suspicious, like of Alistair. She's making the same comments I did, where it's like, I'm watching you, old man. I'm fucking watching you, and I so badly am just like, oh, you too. Oh, good.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I was swindled by him, but he sucks.
And that's on daddy issues.
Yep. So
anyway,
the party disperses and Casteel heads back to the Red Pearl. The maiden is gone. She is not there.
Womp womp.
I know. So Casteel goes back to the bed and inhales the scent of the blanket. Smells like honeydew. Our boy's already got it bad, and he's off to search the streets for her.
Like, the smelling. I know that there's so many of us that cannot deal with the smelling, and that is one part of these books that does make me cringe continuously, is how often he's thinking about her scent and scenting the arousal. I'm sure Carol had a blast reading this book with all of the mentions of the arousal smelling. But yeah, I'm like, that's one aspect of this book that I was just like, oh,
yeah,
I can't. You're just standing there just like, and I mean, I have been guilty of sniffing something of like my husband's if I haven't seen him in a few days or whatever, if he's away, whatever.
Yeah.
For the comfort. I get it. But just where this man met this girl 15, 30 minutes ago, and now he's back and he's huffing on the blanket, I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
It's cute because fantasy. But
right.
Also.
the one argument on that side of the coin is, well, he knows she's the maiden and he knows she's valuable. But yes, I'm completely with you on that. I just imagine him, I just stomping into the room and
give me that blanket.
so anyway, so he's got some feelings of anger and protectiveness, to put it lightly, over the maiden. Who is to blame for endangering her life, right? These are little morally gray building blocks for me.
Yes.
And Casteel continues to trail the scent across the street, right back towards Wisher's Grove. And he puts together that her secret path is over here and it leads right back to Castle Tierman. He finally lays eyes on her from afar and he has a primal urge to get to her. Interesting use of words. Some movement is heard and someone else is following the maiden. It's a vampire. Casteel startles the vampire, attempts to attack him, and Casteel simply grabs him by the throat and proceeds to rip its heart out, following up with, I had been in the mood for pleasure, now I was in the mood for violence. Love that.
Yes.
He,
Likey.
yeah.
Maggie likey.
Yeah. He notices the spot where the maiden disappeared and he walks back to the Citadel whistling. I don't know why. It was a very Peaky Blinders moment for me when that, like, I read that. I just pictured him like going, beating ass, and then, walking off, just whistling. Yeah.
You're nothing to see. I'm just gonna walk away.
Yeah.
I don't know. The walking and whistling, I don't know. Whistling is just, I find, so sinister, especially when it's like at night, walking
Yes.
alone. I'm like, that. I mean, granted, my ringtone for a while was the Kill Bill whistling,
Yeah.
but that's very different, I feel like.
No, I agree with you. And I feel like that part for me, I have like, so many things I hyper fixate on and I will obsess over and it'll stand out to me. I love that part because, like you said, it's very sinister. And even though we're getting this catty side of Casteel and we know and love him, that exemplifies right there, like, just how much of a cold-blooded killer he really can be. How it won't faze him at all.
Exactly. And just like the fact that he sees where she went through, essentially, like her route, and he's like, all right, well, I know that now. And then he just turns around and walks away. And I'm like, I'm scared, but I'm also intrigued.
So we've arrived at the chapter Haunted, and just a quick content warning, there is mentions of PTSD and assault, like PTSD of being assaulted, in this chapter. So after a rather adventurous evening for Casteel, he decides it's time for a bath, and he guesses where this is going to lead. He's thinking about his interaction with the maiden and decides he's not going to blue ball himself. So, and this is a side note, I can't remember if Poppy goes home and does the same thing, but now knowing what we know with their connection, this scene is super detailed and intimate from Casteel's POV. So I was thinking, like, if they're I couldn't remember if she went home and did the same thing, but
I don't know if we ever
I don't think she
seen
does.
her do it without Casteel there.
Yeah.
I know. I think it's the two of them where he tells her to do it to her. I don't know if that's her or Sarah that happens with, but
it's all getting confused.
I know. I'm like, oh God, who's touching themselves? What's happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't remember, but that's a good question.
Yeah. So, Casteel can't remember the last time he found release this easy. And that realization leads him down the rabbit hole of his time being held captive. So we gain insight into his time spent with Isbitch and how Casteel was abused in more ways than one. And all of them are equally horrible. He reflects on coping with the abuse through drugs, alcohol, and how he became hypersexualized, which, if you've ever dealt with sexual trauma, that comes with the territory. If it weren't for Kieran and his cadre, and this, I'm going to try not to cry already, but he says in his inner dialogue that if it wasn't for Kieran and his cadre, he would still be in limbo. And I feel that really hard, because if you have a really good support group around you that is there to help walk you through the triggers, it changes your life in the best way possible. And this is where we really get a look at just how much the sexual trauma has affected him. He reflects on how he detaches during sex. And this last line that he says, I just thank you, JLA, for including this, because truth be told, I still hadn't forgotten that darkness. It lingered, haunted, just as cold as all those releases. Yeah. Really intense chapter, but a really beautiful portrayal of how real sexual trauma is.
Yeah, and I believe it's at the end of this book, she includes a message, along with, the contact for, emergency services if you're, dealing with these
Mm-hmm.
kinds of thoughts and things. But I believe she also includes, like, she felt it important to include these kinds of things because she has,
Mm-hmm.
her own experiences with these kinds of things. Yeah, like you said, it's, I think she does it and writes about it in a very real, but I don't wanna say palatable isn't the right word, but consumable, it's
Mm-hmm.
not you're not sitting in it and then while it's obviously very traumatic, you're not feeling like I don't know if I'm getting this across correctly, but
No,
you're
you
not,
I
you're
understand.
not
I
spiraling
understand.
down with them,
I
it's
understand
not
exactly what you mean.
it's very respectful and well written for sure.
I'm getting goosebumps now. She does a beautiful job at walking you through it.
Yes.
Like literally taking you on this journey and writing the story, but she is like holding our hand the whole way through. Like, I'm not going to leave you there. I'm going to help take you on the other side.
Mhm.
Oh my God, why am I getting so emotional?
Uh, because this
Holy
book's
shit.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to flip back to the present. This is present 3. There's another content warning for this one. There's a mention of self-harm. We're almost on the other side, but these books, we love them for a reason because they take us so deep. We're pushing on. So in the present, obviously Casteel has just shared, he's talking to his sleeping Poppy still, and he's sharing all of that with her. Casteel is continuing to reflect on the heaviness of the abuse as he's cradling Poppy. And he says, even though I knew what they'd done to me and what I'd been forced to do to others wasn't my fault, I knew that. But the mind, man, it liked to ignore that. Holy shit.
Mm, so fucking accurate.
Yeah. And he admits that he found another outlet to silence the noise, either with a blade or even his own fangs. Even though this is a fantasy book, that is fucking devastating.
Yeah.
And Kieran saying, you weren't selfish, Cass, you were in pain. And Kieran is literally a fucking angel. And
He is.
if anyone has ever been through any of these topics, and if you have just one person, in your corner, that is all that you need. That's all that you need. Casteel's thoughts drift back to what happened after the Red Pearl. So Hawk has learned of the maiden's typical venturing areas now at this point. But when he looks for her in the garden, she's nowhere in sight. Instead, Hawk lays eyes on Lord Mazine and Megan's title that I love so much, Duchess Tierman.
Gotta love an accidental typo that turns
Yes,
into a great nickname.
that is all that her name is in these notes.
Yeah, only Duchess.
They're chatting with Jansen and some guards about a body with a broken neck, thinking it's a dissenter. The Dark One must be afoot.
Sirius Black! Sirius Black was spotted
And Hawk can smell the maiden on Mazine.
in...
So if we remember from book 1, I believe that's when he corners her, right? Is that the...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. As Hawk is eavesdropping, Britta sneaks up. Remember, she's the one who's, was his original boo at the Red Pearl, whose cloak Poppy had stolen. Britta sneaks up on him, and she tells him that there was a murder. Someone named Melissa Axton. She's the widow of a merchant and close to Lady Isherwood.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? No further useful is obtained aside from we get a little bit more insight to Hawk's protection over the maiden increases.
Yeah, and I thought as, I'm going through this as well, and as, like, we're typing out these things, I really have come to notice as well that JLA gives names to all of these women and men that are, like, killed off screen, that whether or not we've interacted with them, like, read that interaction, I mean. Like, I believe even from Poppy's point of view, we also get the name, but I've just noticed that throughout this book when they talk about certain people that, they're interacting with, like Hawk going to kill Joel and like give him the mercy killing, he doesn't say, I went to visit a peasant man. It's like, no, all these people have names, they are people. And I just thought that was really, the more I read it and became conscious of it, I was like, damn, she's like, she gives all of these characters names for a reason because they are all people. NPCs are not, you know?
That
So I
is a
thought that was
really
just really cool.
That's a really beautiful point to bring up. I did not. I mean, I noticed it, but I did not think about that. So thank you for sharing that. I love
Yeah,
that.
like Melissa is, a random girl that
Right.
lived at Castle Tierman that Poppy kind of sort of knew and interacted with maybe once, but she couldn't even talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
But JLA goes the extent to say, oh, it's someone named Melissa Axton. She has a last name. She was a widow of a merchant, close to
Yeah.
this lady. Like, she lived a life, even though we never knew her, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. It's also like I think that what roped me in with that, with noticing that, is she's built so much lore at this point, right? Like
Mhm.
as we were reading through the series and as I was realizing like, oh, I need to pay attention to that. I need to pay attention to that. It's almost like, yeah, she curated this really beautiful way of doing exactly that, of giving everyone a space. I love
Yeah.
that. Love that. So Hawk is at the Rise with Jansen, and they're discovering Jericho's dumbass attempt in the garden to take the maiden. So yeah, we're at that part.
At least she fucked him up, you know?
Yeah, seriously. Kitty got claws.
Yes.
Hawk is pissed and he's going to the gambling den to kick Jericho's ass. And I thought of Shrek, give him the chair.
I love that second Shrek reference from Blood and
I
Ash.
think about it all the time. Give him the chair.
That's amazing.
So Kieran's on Hawk's tail because he's like, I'm not going to let you do anything stupid.
Yeah.
And do you want to read this one?
Hawksteel says, I'm not going to kill him. I'm only going to murder him. He says, killing implies it could have been an accident. What I'm about to do will be completely intentional. Yes.
And I just
love
say
it.
on the morally gray counter, tick, tick, tick. Just,
Oh my god. Should have been keeping count, but my god, I'm salivating.
yeah. So Kieran ends up talking him down out of killing Jericho, and Hawk thanks him. Again, tying back to the tragically beautiful chapters we just walked out on, and how important it is to have just at least one voice in your head to help pull you down, pull you back, ground you. And that's what Kieran is to Hawk. I love that.
Yeah.
So they enter the gambling den and find Jericho at a table, tending to his side where we already know the maiden has slashed him. Jericho knows Hawk is pissed. You can tell. And he starts defending his actions for seizing an opportunity. So Hawk admits that Jericho did create an opening for him, even while disobeying Hawk's orders. And Hawk tells him to drink and asks Jericho, you're right-handed, right? I immediately knew where this was going. Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, do it. Do it.
Yep.
Do it. Especially because, yeah, we do obviously from Poppy's point of view get the hint that Casteel is the one that took his hand, but now we get to see it and see
Exactly.
him
Yes.
just like the way that he hints at it that way to him is just like the intimidation, because it's like that's also his prince. Like,
Yeah.
Jericho, you fucked with your prince,
You
and now
fucked
he's
up,
like, hey,
man.
you're right-handed, right? The way, if I was that man, I would have been like, I'm ambidextrous.
Would have pissed myself.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So Hawk tells Jericho to drink. He's like, no, go ahead and drink. And as Jericho goes to grab the glass, Hawk chops his hand clean off.
As he fucking deserves.
As he should.
Fuck him.
Yes. After they leave the room, Kieran's looking at Hawk, and Kieran has his arms crossed across his chest like the ultimate disappointed dad.
Yeah.
And Hawk's rebuttal is that he didn't kill Jericho, and he poured him a drink.
Love it.
I love him so much.
He's like, what do you mean I didn't kill him? Like, you told me not to.
Yeah.
And I even got him a drink. So, like, what do you want from me?
Yeah. And the maiden comes up just in a quick, brief mention, and it's noted. Kieran and Casteel are on the same page that the maiden has a blade with a woven bone. Fast forward to the next day, I believe, and we are at Ryland's funeral. Hawk is comparing how the death rites in Solus are done with the death rites in Atlantia. And he says that in Solus, the attendees believe Rahar is waiting for Ryland's soul, but Hawk knows that even the king of gods and his consort are sleeping. So again, comparing from Poppy's point of view, we know what she knows. Now we're really getting the in-depth of just how fucked up this erased history is.
Yeah.
He also notices that no one representing the crown is in attendance at this death rite. And the death rite is happening in the morning. And the crown couldn't walk in the sun because the gods couldn't.
Right.
facepalm. As he looks into the crowd, who does he see? The maiden.
Yeah, because she ain't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Remember, she's not
Yeah.
supposed to be there, but she's like, yeah, I'm going. He was my personal guard. So,
Yeah. Love that moment. He takes the opportunity to slide his way in, offering to hold Victor's space so that Victor can perform the death rite. And Hawk assures the maiden that she will never be hurt ever again.
He doesn't even know her name.
He doesn't. Kieran and Hawk are headed down towards the warehouse district, and they're led into a home, and there's a body wrapped in linen. Werner Argus, a street sweeper that was turned into a craven. He was fed on and then left, like his body was just left in the street. But we further discover that Werner actually has a wife and she's in the house, and she's in the other room with something. Long story short, they had a baby who was turned into a craven and ultimately killed its parents. So Hawk does what he has to do in that situation.
Yeah. And as obviously devastating as that is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if you've seen the 2004 Dawn of the Dead remake, but
Yes.
I just thought of the guy holding his zombie baby.
Yep. Same brain, girl. I
Yeah.
thought of the same shit.
Yeah.
Same shit. Yeah. Because it's described as like bloodshot eyes and like, claws and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So after that lovely house call, Hawk is now with Duke Dorian Tierman, aka Duke Dumbass. That's what I like to call him.
Like it.
So we have Dumbass and Dutch Ass.
Mm.
They're having small talk on Hawk essentially taking Ryan's place, and we're immediately angry because
even like I love that even Hawk immediately is like, fucker couldn't even remember that his name was Rylan. Like, even Hawk internally was like, the disrespect.
That was the royal guard of your maiden, your prized possession.
Yeah.
And he's dead, and you can't have the consideration to get his name right. Are you fucking kidding? Yeah. Tierman says that the maiden will usher in a new era. All the lore, all these prophecies in the back of my mind just drive me fucking crazy.
Seriously.
Yeah. This is essentially Hawk's interview to be assigned as her new personal guard. Tierman continues to run his big stupid mouth, putting special inflection on how the maiden's innocence can be surprisingly charming, and this makes me physically fucking nauseous.
Yeah, it's really fucking gross.
Makes me physically fucking nauseous. Hawk assures that he's there for strictly business and that there won't be any tomfoolery happening, but we all know that's a big fat lie.
Thankfully, it's a big fat lie.
Thankfully. Thank God. Now in the Great Hall, Hawk takes notice of the painting on the ceiling of the 11 gods. Gang's all here, with the exception of Nyktos, who's painted in the form of silvery moonlight. Like, there's no physical painting of him. It's literally moonlight. They literally hid him, and his consort is practically erased. So basically no one current in Solus knows that she exists at all.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah, she's only a rumor, essentially.
Yeah. So, which is wild. Can't wait to see what we're in store for. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Hawk takes note of the royal crest on the banners. They're white and gold, just like Atlantea's. Interesting. This is the scene where the Toulouse family comes in, and it's just as rough the first time around, especially listening on audio. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. Mrs. Toulouse claims that they have... Oh, God. Mrs. Toulouse claims that they have prayed to Ios and Nyktos every morning and every night for the child that they currently have, Tobias. And oh my God, my fucking heart hurts so bad, especially because we know the gods are sleeping, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Hawk's determined at that point to not let anything happen to Tobias. Jansen and Hawk walk across the grand foyer, discussing how the Duke is going to be a problem after this interaction. He'll be dealt with at some point, and glad we're all on the same page about that. Jansen assures Hawk that they'll get the Toulouse family out before they make their big move. They enter a room Hawk hasn't been in yet, but the Duke and Duchess are here. Tawny enters next, and finally here comes the maiden. Hawk wonders if she's wearing a dagger. Mm-hmm. The Duke refers to her as Penelope, and Jansen is dismissed. The infamous unveiling scene takes place. We love it. Hawk immediately recognizes her scars as craven markings, and he swears his allegiance to Penelope. Megan?
From this moment until the last moment, I am yours. And take me.
For real. God.
Yeah, it's like, every time he sees her face, it's being in his head now, seeing how he, like, thinks about her, views her, just gets me in the heart.
Yeah, it really does. So Victor, Hawk, Penelope, and Tawny all leave the room after the unveiling, and Hawk asks Penelope where she would like to go, and Tawny answers for her chambers. They arrive to a completely vacant wing of the castle. It's one of the oldest parts of the building. It's like drafty, just very uncomfortable feeling. Tawny and Poppy enter and close the door. Victor has to leave, putting Hawk on his first official shift of guarding. And Victor instructs him that Hawk is not to leave, not even for the gods.
Alrighty then.
Hawk moves to face the door and hears Tawny use the name Poppy. The two engage in the sweetest session of girl talk ever, and Hawk's narrating in this is just the absolute cherry on top.
Oh yeah.
It's
adorable.
It's so cute. Poppy finally tells her that like Hawk is who she kissed at the Red Pearl, and Tawny is like, "Oh my gosh, are you gonna tell it?"
Yeah. She's like, he's your guard, Poppy. What the fuck? And he's just like, this is great.
Yeah, and it's so he's like, I can't remember what Tawny says, but he makes like an internal comment of like, oh, and then she became my favorite person again or something. I can't remember what
he's
it
like,
is.
I really liked her.
So Tawny has now left, and Victor comes back holding a white cloth. It's a mantle for Hawk to wear, representing the royal guard. Victor discloses to Hawk that Poppy has nightmares, and he also shares that Poppy got the scars as a child from a craven attack that killed her parents. She survived because she is, what is it?
Chosen. We know that's a lie.
Yeah. So Victor's going over Poppy's daily schedule with Hawk, and he's saying that she's not to be disturbed in the morning. That's for prayers and meditation. She eats in her chambers. The servants will enter when she's at her lessons with Priestess Analia. Hawk is to be present in her chambers if there are servants in there. She's to be veiled all of those times. And the only ones allowed entrance to her chambers without Hawk are the Tiermans and Tawny. And Hawk is, he's thrown off by that. He's like, the Duke is allowed in there without it. Like, what?
Right.
Yeah. Hawk is faced with the fact that if they are summoned to the capital, Victor would be one of the guards escorting, and he is indeed going to have to die for Hawk to succeed in his mission.
Yeah. It's,
So it is cool getting the timeline though on realizing like that's when Hawk made the decision.
Yeah, it is. And like knowing that he always knew it was like an impossibility, or not that. He always knew that it was going to happen. Like there was no way Poppy was leaving with Victor breathing.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, and it's like and then as we'll find out later on, just the tug of, he's got to die, but in the least traumatic way possible for her.
Mm-hmm.
How does one do that?
Right.
Impossible.
Right.
Really. You're only killing her father figure. It's fine.
It's no big deal. Whatever. So Hawk meets Kieran at a warehouse in some type of meat market. They make their way down to an underground cellar that is used by butchers. Upon entering, Kieran has someone tied up to a chair, someone named Lord Hale Devries.
Well, hi.
How you doing? As he comes to, Devries immediately calls Hawk a dissenter, the Dark One. Hawk says that they have questions. Devries refuses, and Hawk says he wants to know where they're keeping Prince Malik. Devries still refuses and busts out of the ropes. Kieran catches him and sinks his nail right into his shoulder and throws Devries on the ground. Love that.
Yes.
Like, get that badass Kieran fight scene. I love it.
So good.
Yeah. A mild fight ensues. Hawk continues to press for information on Malik. Devries is still not cooperating. Hawk then begins to ask about the maiden. Why is she important? Devries again says because she is chosen, and then he decides it's a good idea to share that he was present when Hawk was held captive. Kieran then kills Devries.
Thank you, Kieran.
Yeah.
Because, that happened. I'm just like, bitch, what the fuck did you say?
Yeah. It was really graphic. And
yeah.
So jumping back to the present, this is our fourth moment in the present. Casteel attempts to shake off of being thrown back into that moment, right? Because, he's telling Poppy all of this and reliving all of it as he's talking about it. He admits to Poppy that it does bother him that he can't remember Devries being present for his captivity. Trauma, the way your brain protects you.
Yeah.
And what all did Devries see? Was he there with Malik for the beginning of Malik's captivity, of his torment? But Malik's chains are different because he's tied to Millicent. Yeah. So we know Malik is staying amongst the entire Blood Crown for Millicent to protect her.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it's in that scene with Devries where he makes a comment saying like, I don't know, he makes a comment about Malik not being kept, not being held. He's like, no, he's not being held. I don't know where he's being held because it's like because he's not a captive, as we know. So I feel like there was a wordplay there where then when Cass flashes back, I don't know if it's this moment. I might be feature spoiling it. I don't care.
No, you're not. You're not.
Yeah, but yeah, it was cool in that moment to be like, so the clues were always there for that too, and that's something that he didn't see.
So Casteel leads into the first time that Poppy finally spoke to him. So the maiden speaks. Here we go.
Everyone kick your feet together.
Everyone get ready, because here we go. The next day, Hawk and Poppy are outside of the kitchens waiting for Tawny. He asks if she needs anything. Did she sleep okay? Love that. Tawny returns with Poppy's favorite, which Tawny tells Hawk is cucumber sandwiches. They make their way to a table, and two ladies in wait appear, Lauren and Defina. There's some cute domestic banter, the two of them kind of fainting in Hawk's presence. And the conversation moves on to the topic of cards, the red pearl, and finally, Miss Willa.
Also, reading this from Casteel's point of view was interesting because I didn't remember the two of these girls going so hard as pick-me's for him.
I didn't either.
But then reading it, I'm like, damn, they were really just throwing themselves at him.
They were, yeah. And Defina hints at the Dark One visiting the Red Pearl. She also hints that Miss Willa probably hooked up with him, and I love that.
Oh my god, imagine.
Oh god, what a fucking canon
I want to know
event.
that chapter. Where's that chapter?
She then goes on to say that if he is in the city, that he may cancel the rite. He, as in Prince Casteel.
Ooh. And he's over there just like smirking to himself.
He's sitting there the entire time. Oh my god, I love it. Stroking his ego for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lauren, Defina, and Tawny go back and forth about all of Prince Casteel's doings, rumors, his appearance, and hearing Cass narrate about himself is just top tier. It's so good.
Yeah.
One of the I can't remember. I think it's Defina. She goes, I heard from Ramsay he is bald and has pointy ears and is pale. I was like, not Nosferatu.
So interesting that they would think that the Atlanteans look like vampires and not the vampires.
Right.
Like,
guys,
they don't
come
know them
on.
as vampires, but I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah. So Poppy finally engages in the conversation. Finally, she's whispering with Tawny about what they would do if the Dark One was actually in the city. Tawny steers the conversation in the direction of what Poppy is going to do about addressing Hawk since they've made out. They're just, table talking this. A guard enters and tells Hawk that the Duke is summoning the maiden. Hawk returns to Poppy and Tawny, and in mid-conversation, his charm and wit is on full blast. And he addresses the maiden as Poppy. And Tawny shares that only her friends and her brother call her that. And to that, Poppy gives a small grin.
Mm-hmm.
He tells them that Poppy has been summoned by the Duke, and they take their leave. Hawk can tell that there's kind of a shift in the air from him saying that. And Poppy missteps, and Hawk steadies her by her elbow, and she thanks him. And the banter is born.
Yes.
The banter is born, yeah, because he's teasing her about tripping, and she's like, it was only once.
Yeah.
He calls Poppy out on knowing that she's watched him train. And they finally reach the Duke's quarters. As she enters, Hawk calls her by Penelope and tells her that he'll be waiting for her outside. So Victor shows up, asks how long Poppy has been in there. It's been about 10 minutes. And Hawk asks what the Duke is doing with her, but Victor says that he'll take over and dismisses Hawk. So Hawk is waiting outside of Poppy's chambers, and he hasn't seen her since she left the Duke's since he left the Duke's office. Tawny shows up and tells Hawk that she's not feeling well. Hawk's thinking about how the rite is coming up and about Malik. He's also reflecting on how there were fires earlier in the day, a certain home down in Radiant Row, courtesy of the dissenters. And Hawk knows that freeing Malik will be the first step in bringing down this charade that the Ascended have been performing for so long. A scream is heard, and Hawk jumps into action and bursts into Poppy's chambers. She's having a nightmare. And Hawk recalls Victor telling him that she won't scream if she's under duress. And I just thought about Poppy having to self-soothe through these nightmares that she's been having for however long. And it just breaks my heart. Like her just not asking for help or comfort.
Yeah.
And so when Hawk goes in the room, he covers her with a blanket. And once he sees that she's finally relaxed, he leaves. So I thought that was a very sweet, intimate moment.
It is. Unfortunately, because of the Twilight brain rot, I can't read about anyone having nightmares without picturing Bella just traumatizing the shit out of Charlie with her screaming.
I know.
Because I was just watching that, that movie a few weeks ago, and I'm just like, wow, yeah, she just over and over and over again watching Charlie just waking.
He's like, oh fuck.
He's like, oh, geez, another one.
And another one. And another one.
Yeah.
So now we're back in present. This is present 5. Casteel tells Poppy that he never shared that with her because he didn't want her to feel embarrassed. Oh my God. Love him.
Yeah.
He really is just the fucking top tier gold star standard for male characters. I mean,
he 100. Yes. I can't say that anymore. Like it's 100%.
Yeah. He says he didn't know about the Duke, but his radar was going off when that happened, when she was summoned to his office. Now he knows why Victor dismissed him, because he knew Poppy wouldn't have wanted Casteel or anyone to see her after her lesson.
Ugh.
So Casteel can't sleep. Obviously, he's very stressed out and worried about his wife. And he shares with her that when he found her dagger at the Red Pearl, she knew how to use it. But the night on the Rise, when the Craven attacked, he realized how much he and Kieran had underestimated her. And we are getting to like my top favorite scenes in all of Romantasy.
Yay.
So flashback, Hawk is on the Rise with Pence, and mist starts rolling in. They know that an attack is about to happen, so the guards along the Rise light their arrowheads wrapped in cloth mixed with gunpowder, shoot flaming arrows, and the Craven hordes appear. Alarms are going off. Everyone's freaking out, instantly tense. Hawk immediately takes off to fight, telling Pence, stay alive. He moves down towards the Rise gates, joining a group of guards. Jansen's present. He's yelling instructions. The gates open. We're immediately thrown into the fight. And this entire interaction of Casteel fighting off Craven just really highlights how fucking hot and badass he is. That's all that I have to say about that.
Oh, yeah. I eat up any, like, fighting choreography writing. Eat that shit right up.
It's so good. So an arrow flies by. Hawk looks. He sees it's from Victor. Hawk contemplates utilizing this moment, though, to take Victor out. But he realizes that means that no one is guarding Poppy right now.
So I don't think the arrow doesn't fly from Victor. It's the one that Poppy fires to protect Victor.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the moment where Poppy sees Victor fighting on the ground.
That's
and Craven's
right.
Coming at him. She fires the arrow at him, and Hawk sees that happen. And he's just like, "What the fuck?" And then that's when he sees that Victor's there, and he's like, "Well, if both of us are here, then who's up there? Who's watching her? God damn it!"
That's right. Oh my God. Yeah, all the crossovers. Jesus.
Imagine Victor fired an arrow at Hawk. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a plot twist.
So Hawk sees a guard get bitten by a Craven, and the guard proceeds to slit his own throat, knowing that, like,
hardcore.
I'm done. Hawk yells up to Jansen, like, shit's getting bad, and Jansen yells to open the gate to let Hawk come back in. Hawk makes his way back up the Rise and notices someone in the archer's nest. He catches a scent, something fresh and sweet. It's Poppy. Here we go. You're an absolutely stunning, murderous little creature. Title of the chapter. Hawk tells Poppy that she must be the goddess Bele or Layla in mortal form, and holy shit, I was fucking freaking out. I was like, wait, is this possible? Wait!
We know Bella! We know her!
We know her! She's our homegirl!
Yes!
We were just with her. Hawk is in awe of her as we fondly remember this entire scene. He immediately takes the route of playing with this moment. He's like, oh, I have the upper hand here. How do I want to play this?
Yep.
We get all of the really enjoyable insight from Hawk of just how impressed he is with Poppy and her ability to defend herself. And the fact that he takes notice that she's out here in fucking slippers.
Yep. Taking in all those details.
She is, yeah, she's like, we're under attack. I'm gonna go fight in my PJs.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah. So lots of emphasis on the close proximity and her scent here, how strong the pull is. Again, knowing everything that we know now, I'm like, oh my God, it was so obvious, but it wasn't.
Really? No, seriously. It's crazy.
Yeah. The banter is bantering in full fucking swing. The cat and mouse interaction here will never get old. And honestly, this scene reigns supreme as my top favorite scene in Romantasy.
Okay.
Absolutely. I will never be over this scene. Hawk jokes about her basically riding his thigh as she's fighting him off. And, is thinking to himself, it made the floor on the rise feel as if it was shifting. So my lore brain is like their connection, is this sitting into place? Like, WTF is happening. So we already know how the rest of the conversation goes, and it's just as good the second time around. And it ends with Hawk telling Poppy that they will have to finish this conversation later. So Hawk's view on the maiden is now switched. She is now Penelope to him. She's no longer a target. Well, she is, but he's giving, it's like a more personalized sense, I guess. It's a total wrench in how he's now going to balance his original aim of fleeing Malik with these feelings. He knocks on her chamber door. Tawny answers and says Poppy's sleeping, but Hawk pushes past and sees her in her bed unveiled. It's time for the talk. He dismisses Tawny, who is completely out of the loop. She's like, what the fuck is going on? Some argumentative banter ensues. In the midst of it, Hawk admires Poppy's figure under the nightgown, and he asks if that's all she's been wearing underneath while she was fighting outside. Getting to revisit their conversation a bit, Hawk tells Poppy that she's nothing like he expected. She admits that when they met, it was her first time at the Red Pearl. The reason she was on the floor was because Victor came in.
Yeah.
Knowing everything that we now know from Flesh and Fire about the Array and the Fates and how they work, I'm just losing my fucking mind at this game of cosmic chess.
No, for real. Like, you can see how all of that shit was set up, because also with Willa being there as well.
Yes.
And her being the one to point her in that direction, and like, yeah. And I'm sure that Victor was like, well, I've got to walk into this place so that I can send her up there so that they can meet, and then this whole thing's gonna happen. And like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Yeah. Fucking nuts. So Hawk finally brings up what went down with the Duke. Like, he's finally asking Poppy about it. And we get the insight that last night when she had a nightmare, he smelled pine and sage, a plant called amica, and it's used for healing wounds and bruises. So he knew when he walked in the room and he smelled that something. This conversation is absolutely everything. Hawk telling her, why wouldn't I care? I bet I know you better than most. And this is, aside from Tawny, this is probably the first person that's ever talked to Poppy like that, validating her feelings and her autonomy. Hawk then feels a strange sensation, a prickle on his neck, a hitch in his chest, and shares how it feels like I've known you longer and you feel it too. And we just fucking scream.
Oh my God. Because that tickle on the neck is not going to go away. This entire book, it's going to keep coming up whenever he is essentially like acknowledging his feelings for her, or when they're both doing it for each other. And it would be really interesting to once again reread the first From Blood and Ash to see if, because I can't remember if like Poppy ever describes having similar pulls or feelings.
Yeah.
But imagine if like the two of them were having those like very subtle reactions and like
at the same time.
God,
yeah.
I can't.
Good Lord. They also, in this moment, they revisit the story of the Craven attack and Poppy's parents. She opens up to Hawk about all of that. And Hawk decides at this moment that he doesn't just need her trust, he wants it. So his whole guard of not wanting to care about her is it's kind of coming down.
Yeah. Like, we see this, I would say brick by brick, but it's really more like bricks by bricks.
Yeah, taking a wrecking ball to. So now Hawk is with Victor, waiting for the Tiermans to give an address on the Craven attack that just happened. Victor immediately asks Hawk why he's not disclosing that Poppy was on the rise. Like, he's pissed at Hawk. He's like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, what in the hell?" He can't keep anything from this guy because how the fuck does he already know that?
Right.
Victor also goes on to say that Hawk could have earned brownie points with the Tiermans by telling them about Poppy being on the rise. Hawk doesn't give a fuck about that. He's like, I don't want to be in their good graces. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird, you know, if you're looking at from the stance of Hawk's supposed to be this royal guard. And
Right.
he's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. It's like, okay, dude, that's not really, you gotta do your job.
Victor immediately points out that he knows that Hawk is trying to gain Poppy's trust, just point blank. He's like, well, if you're not trying to get in their good graces, you're trying to get in hers.
Oh, yeah. He sees right through him.
Right through
at
it.
every turn.
Yep.
Also because he knows exactly who he is. But
Exactly. But for the sake of storytelling, we'll downplay it. Duke Tierman is out here lying his ass off and gaslighting the entire kingdom. The Duchess chimes in saying the attack was due to the gods. The gods didn't fail them, but they're unhappy with them. Yeah, because you're dirty lying nitwits and you're dirty rotten liars. Liars, all of you. Casteel's thinking to himself. The Duke continued jabbering on with his nonsense, riling up the crowd and filling them with anxiety and anger, just like a soul eater would. Interesting. This was how you controlled the masses. And if that just ain't the damn truth to translate into reality. Holy shit.
Oh, yes.
So Hawk looks to Kieran, who nods in the direction of Lev Baron. Consistently, Poppy whispers to Hawk and describes Lev Baron. She's looking at him, and he looks real angry. Tawny becomes nervous. Lev's had enough of the gaslighting and fires off with a craven hand. From blood and ash, we will rise. That's our dude. Everyone's returned inside at this point. Tawny's in shock. Hawk eases in the idea that he wouldn't be surprised if more people were in agreement with Lev, especially considering none of the children supposedly serving the gods have been seen. So right. Hawk's supposed to be the, you know, like on the Tierman side, and here he is planting little seeds.
Yeah.
Poppy is immediately suspicious of Hawk at that point, thinking exactly that. Hawk tells Tawny he needs to speak with Penelope in private. Hawk plays the card that he should enter her room first in case the Dark One is lurking somewhere. LOL.
Seriously? That part's so funny. It's like, oh yeah, in case he's lurking.
So a fire is lit, but the chamber is cold, completely void of life. Hawk shares that he hates talking to the veil, and Poppy opens up a little and shares it feels like suffocating when she's wearing it. Hawk takes his leave to guard outside the door, so he simply walked her to bed. Next day, we are at the lesson with Priestess Analia, and she's reprimanding Poppy's pronunciation of Skotos. Hawk's irritated due to lack of sleep, what happened with Lev, the Tierman's least motivational speech of the decade. And nightmares find him when he does sleep. Oh, you mean like what Poppy's experiencing? Interesting. Interesting. As Poppy reads from the tome out loud, Hawk is internally clocking what is a lie, which is all of it. Like Theon being Nyktos' son, false. Jalara Solis fought oppression under Nyktos and the Atlanteans, false. Nyktos and the Atlanteans created the Craven, false. Nyktos gave the gods first blessing, shared with Jalara and his army, false. There was no blessing because the gods were already asleep.
Yep.
And lastly, Jalara and the army defeated the Atlanteans during the Battle of the Broken Bones, which ended the reign of a wretched kingdom. False. Atlantia retreated for the sake of their people and to save the Atlanteans and the mortals. So,
it's almost like history's rewritten by the people that survive it.
I know. With everything we now know as readers, Poppy being unsettled at this part has me thinking it's because she was feeling what Cass was feeling in that moment. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because she's been doing these lessons for years, right?
Right.
And she all of a sudden becomes unsettled when she's reading about the blessing and the priestess calls her out on it. Now reading from Hawk's point of view, where he's like enraged of this false history, I'm like, well, maybe because they're connected.
I mean, or even just like the fact that she's able to pick up on emotions too.
Yeah.
Whether or not she obviously was conscious of it, but
right.
No, that's really Quite an interesting tie-in. Yeah.
So we know how this interaction concludes, but as Hawk and Poppy leave and Hawk pieces together that the Duke used a cane on Poppy, she does, remember she doesn't directly say it, but he puts it together. We get the reveal that icy rage fills him and he is pissed. He's fucking mad.
Yeah.
More relationship building happens, talk of the upcoming rite. Poppy shares how it bothers her that Ryan and Melissa are never mentioned, etc. Poppy's reveal about Ian has Hawk feeling a bit seen as he thinks about his own brother, but he feels that Malik's capture is his fault. And Poppy asks Hawk if he is okay, and with that, he feels at peace. So I thought that was very sweet.
But we know why he feels peace. Didn't at that moment, but he does say it's like, yeah, and then a peace like overcame me, and it's
overcame me. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So with that, Hawk finally gets some rest, and he feels calm, lighter. He feels a soft touch and thinks of Poppy, of their interaction at the Red Pearl. He hears a female's voice and wakes. It's Britta. She's here to clean his chambers. I bet you are, girlfriend.
Oh yeah. Clean those chambers, girl.
That's right. Get
Also, I don't know if you've seen Community, the TV show. Oh my god, it's excellent. I highly recommend it. It's a comedy, like,
yeah,
it's fantastic. But they have a joke when they're like, Britta's in this?
Oh my gosh, how funny.
It's great, yeah.
That's hilarious. She thinks it's her lucky day. She's being very touchy-feely with him, and she's looking for a booty call. That's what she's here for. While Hawk does have a physical reaction to her touch, and she reaches for his dick, he grabs her wrist and declines the invitation. He's very nice about it, but
yes,
he's just like, no, I'm good. And he's shocked with himself at that. Like, did I really just turn that opportunity down?
Yeah, when a man turns down sex, you really know something's happening, you know? Because they're just such a horn dogs.
So Hawk is shocked with himself at this. Like, he's looking at himself in the mirror and he's like, what is happening to me? So jump back to the present again. This is our sixth moment in the present. And Kieran and Cass joke about the possibility of Cass having a dick piercing.
Yeah. Yeah, Kieran, I feel like, says, like, as if you would, like, allow for someone to try to do that to you.
Right.
And he's like, well, I mean, I would if she wanted me to.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but dude, that's gotta hurt.
Right.
It's funny. Like, two dudes just talking about a dick piercing.
They notice the shadows under her eyes are lessening, which is a good sign. And Kieran tells him that things are under control outside. The Ascendeds are under house arrest. Those who resisted no longer live. They're fucking holding it down like bosses. But there's no news of Malik or Melissa. From the point Cass stopped in his story, it's 2 days until the rite. So much happened in those couple of days. So here we go.
Yeah, really forgot just how much is packed.
Yeah.
When they give that specific, like, timing, because a lot of times when, like, we're jumping scene to scene, reading these books, whatever, it does, sometimes it'll specify, like, the next day. Other times it will be very vague. So to get, like, the 100%, like, 2 days until the rite, here we go, and we're like, fuck.
Yeah. So Casteel is checking Poppy's rooms, commenting on how cold it is in there. She lives in the older part of the castle, like we mentioned, because she likes having access to the old servant passages. So that makes me feel better, because originally when that point was made earlier, I was like, oh my God, did they really just shun her away?
Right.
So they banter some more, and he mentions that he hoped they'd walk to the gardens, but she can't bring herself to do it yet. Casteel wishes for a moment that he'd chosen a different spot to take her out to guard, stripping her of the one place that she found peace. Poppy calls him strange, and he helps to fix her tangled chains on her head.
Like, just the small touches.
I know, taking his time. Oh my God. The two of them make small movements. She seems hesitant to touch him. He feels that he wants her to.
Yeah.
And he doesn't realize Poppy moved closer, and it shocks him.
Yeah. He's like, wow, I really just lost myself there for a second. Didn't even realize, like, they're so close.
They discuss the dissenter that protested at court, and then Casteel leaves, lingering on the thought that he was searching for something in the silence between them and has a feeling he shouldn't find out what it is. And we say, too bad.
Too bad, you definitely should.
You're going to.
Yes.
In the Red Pearl, Cass goes to meet Kieran and walks in on him betting a woman named Cersei, but they don't stop, and he offers Casteel to join in.
This is the scene I was talking about earlier. I love this scene.
I love it so
much.
Eat it the fuck up.
Yes.
Like, talk about bromance. Oh my
Dude, sex
God.
positive bromance. Like, I fucking love it.
I love it so much. Yes, absolutely. He refuses, and we say, damn it. But he says, don't stop on my accord. Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah. And he's like, okay. And then they just go back to town.
As he watches them, Cass is now fantasizing about Poppy being between him and Kieran. Oh my God.
From the first book, he's been thinking about it.
He's been thinking about
From
it.
the first book.
My
He
God.
was edged longer than we were.
I know. But we know we'll get there.
We get there, all right.
Yeah.
And it's not even that, like, graphic, but we've already gone over that.
Right, right. So worth noting, Casteel makes a comment on how he knows Kieran can fuck hot.
Yeah, so
Hot.
they've definitely had a thriesome before.
They've definitely
is
had
what
a
I
threesome.
read that.
Yeah, I know, like, in one of our past episodes, we weren't really sure. They've definitely have. And
They definitely, yeah.
I fucking love that.
But
I
yeah,
love
just
that.
like the way he talks about describing, like, oh yeah, watching the way that like Kieran thrust into her
Yeah.
and the reverberation on her like ass and thing. I'm like,
Oh my
bro,
God.
you are just staring. Oh my God. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's just great.
I also kind of picture him, like, just standing there with his hand on his hip, turning his head, like, nice form, boy, nice form.
Nice form.
So, anyways, Kieran and Cersei finish up and she leaves. Kieran and Casteel discuss Poppy. Casteel tells him he's going to kill the Duke and how he knows that the Duke canes her. Kieran calls Casteel out saying, you care for Poppy and that's why you want to kill the Duke.
Tell it like it is, Kieran.
Seriously. Casteel rejects that completely. No, it's not
He's like, no, I'm killing him because he's just a general abuser.
Yeah.
Not because he's abusing her in particular. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
He tells Kieran that Poppy was out on the rise during the Craven attack. Victor must have trained her.
Right.
Who else? Kieran tells him to make the Duke's death hurt. And we love that.
Mm.
We love that. Casteel tries to tell Kieran he doesn't need to be here. He can go ahead. It's hard for Wolven to stay in mortal form, and he's been confined to his for some time now. Yeah, fucking right, he's leaving. Please. If all goes well, the next time they'll see each other is when they're leaving with the maiden. So
yeah. I just love that, like, even though he knows he's gonna fail, he still tries to tell Kieran, be like, hey man, like, I just need to tell you again, you don't gotta be here if you wanna, like,
right.
go shift, and you can go ahead to New Haven and meet us there, like, I'm cool with it. And he's like, are you kidding me with this shit? No.
Kieran
of course I'm not. And he's like, yeah, it's a struggle, but I'm willing to do it for you, dude. And it's like,
yeah. Kieran is the stoic, stalwart, like, one of the best written characters ever, in my opinion.
May us all find a Kieran.
May us all find a Kieran. Yes. So this chapter, Miss Willa Collins.
Oh boy.
Are y'all ready? Casteel is following Poppy as she snuck out again. Another opportunity for him to take her more easily, but he's still not taking it. She was sneaking into the city library, and then he spots her standing on the window ledge. Okay.
He mentions about, like, how pissed he is. He's like, he looks up, and she's standing on a window ledge. She's like, what the fuck is she doing up there? Yeah.
So, tracking her scent to the room, he calls out to her to get back in the room off the ledge.
Yeah. He's like, princess, get in here. I know you're out there.
Back in the room, they banter about her recklessness, why she was on the ledge, all while he holds her to him and they're chest to chest. Like, oh.
And you know he's taller than her, so she's not touching the ground.
He notices her scent change.
I told you.
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Gross. And says the seduction was a need, a way to gain her trust, but also a want. So we see you. We see you. He lets her go and she tells him about the servant's access. So she's just spilling all her secrets to him at this point. She's like,
oh, yeah.
Fuck it. Whatever.
Oh, I would tell him anything that he wanted to know.
I would too. Like, take me. Take me, Dark One. Per usual, the conversation transitions to banter about her being violent, and we love it. It's so fucking good. He calls her interesting and snatches the book from her grasp, The Diary of Miss Willa Collins. the other very fucking important character of this entire series.
Mm-hmm.
He asks her if she's ever been in love. She says she has not, but her parents loved each other very much. He tells her that he has been in love. We know the pain it brings him to mention it. So that is disclosed a bit.
Yeah.
Casteel gives her back the journal, and after some more banter, they leave. He tells her he has exceptional tracking skills. So
I can sniff you.
I can smell you. This is our last chapter for this episode. This is just a name. They're on their way back to the castle through Wisher's Grove while Poppy tells Cass that it's not easy speaking up, staying silent as the maiden. She says she's allowed to read selective histories and prayers, hence the sneaking out to read what she wants. Again,
Tragic.
people say reading is not political. We are going to be on the other side of the fence that it is.
Yes, if people are restricting what you can and cannot read, that is a
It is.
flag.
Yes. Casteel thinks about how the control the Ascended has on her would be ended when he takes her, but stops the thought, feeling a prickling on his neck. She'd be back with them in the end. Casteel starts to think over alternative options, offering her to stay with them after they get Malik, but he couldn't think about that now. Poppy brings up that he called her by her nickname back in the library. He didn't even realize that he did it. And, Tawny has said that only her brother and her friends call her Poppy. He says that he supposes that means they are friends. She says she wouldn't go that far, but he assures her they are most definitely friends. Love them so
Your
fucking
Honor,
much.
I love them so much.
I love them so much.
My God. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. I don't know. There's just something that just gets me with them that
know.
Niktos and Sarah just doesn't have. And they are both great couples in their own right,
They
of
are.
course. But there is just, I don't know, there's something about Casteel and Poppy and like their origin and like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I do, I do agree. I am a Niktos girly, but I do agree with you, especially doing the rereads and getting this like refresher with everything. I love Poppy and Casteel's relationship so much. They're fucking amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, there's, obviously something to be said about like as you want to say, like the tropes that they're both positioned in, where Niktos and Sarah are very much more like forced relationship kind of deal, whereas the two of them, Poppy and Casteel, are more like an enemies to lovers kind of straightforward, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's almost
either way.
like magnets, right?
Yeah.
Like
that's
if
better.
Sarah and Niktos are kind of like the same charge to where they're repelling against each other, and
that's the perfect analogy.
Poppy and Casteel are opposites. So
you genius.
That's what I'm going to picture now.
That's a great analogy. I love that.
Magnets.
Yeah, no, that's totally accurate to how kind of they are at the beginning of meeting each other and all that. Yeah. They're just so sweet with each other, and
really
he's just
are.
so fucking obsessed with her. So, speaking on how like sweet and adorable the two of them are, now we get to the fan art, and this week we've got some more like fun directed fan art, because also I couldn't find any Millicent or Malik art.
Oh.
And so the search continues, and if you have any that you have either done or that you wish to share with us that you have found, as long as you have the artist credit, please definitely send it to us, because we would love to be able to showcase that.
We would, for sure.
So our first fan art here is going to be by @the_Megabee, and it is this like non-canonical snowball fight between Casteel and Poppy, and it's just such a cute little moment, because I'm like, we know that obviously later in this book we're gonna get to see the snow fucking scene again, and I'm like, oh, this is like maybe later on or something where they're having a snowball fight. It's just so cute.
It is so cute.
The next one is slightly NSFW, so just keep that in mind. It's not full nudity or anything. It's very light, but wanted to let you know. This one is @BlinChick_art, and it is Poppy, Casteel, and Kieran. Kieran in his woven form. And Poppy just looks like a Greek goddess to me.
She really does.
Like the sheer dress that she has on, holding the dagger, the two of them like looking up, worshiping her. I'm in love with this art.
And the style of it too is so good.
Yes, it's so gorgeous. The next one we have it's a repeat artist that we showcased in, I think, our last Flesh and Fire episode.
Yeah.
But it's from @Elysiana .1. And instead of Sarah and Nyktos, this one is Poppy and Casteel, and it's Poppy going absolutely batshit insane, trying to stab, and Casteel's holding her back completely unfazed.
I love it so much.
It
so
is awesome. She is just covered and splattered in blood, going fucking crazy, and he's just like, "Yep, this is mine. I gotta hold her back. She'll calm down in a second." It's just adorable. And then keeping on kind of the more animated, cartoony look, we have at laylove.illustrations. And this one is Poppy asking Kieran a question. And it's just adorable. The two of them, she's just like, I have a question. And he's just looking at her like,
yeah.
I'm sure you do. And so they're just adorable. And this is a nice, reprieve from all of the doom and gloom that we've been experiencing in these books of recent.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I'm sure that's going to come back in this book at some point. So, what a cute stopping point. It's obviously not much of a cliffhanger, seeing as we know that this is a retelling. We know what's going to happen, at least the parts with Poppy in them. So, we've been saying, and we'll keep saying, that seeing the first book again from Casteel's POV is just so interesting, so touching, so well written. JLA gives such a clear distinction in the way Casteel's thoughts flow and how he sees the world versus how Poppy does. And it's, obviously doing the audiobook has that extra immersion where now we're hearing a male's voice versus a female's voice. But I think even if it was narrated by a female, you would still definitely be able to tell the distinction. And of course, now we get to see inside his head as they banter, as he flirts with her, just seeing how fucking obsessed with he is. But along with that, we also get to see how he views her. And the moments that he's watching her that we didn't get the first time around, because if Poppy doesn't see him watching her, but now we get to see his inner thoughts as he does that. It's just a really fun read. But on a more important note, when's Poppy waking up? Because while it's adorable to be off in memory land and reliving all of this, when the fuck is she waking up?
Yeah. We're halfway through the book.
I know.
So, we'll just have to wait to find out what awaits our sleeping beauty and sit through the rest of Casteel's story. But we're not complaining. A little bit.
Maybe a little bit of complaint,
Yeah.
but there's some parts in part 2 that make it be okay, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It makes it kind of worth it.
Yeah. So there's a few plot points that we'll get to see next week and that we only heard about after the fact, such as killing the Duke. Can't wait to see him get his from Casteel's point of view. But that also means that we have to sit with Cass as he breaks Poppy's heart later on. Impending doom. It'll be tough, but at least we know that they make it through that. As for the present, who the fuck knows?
Genuinely. There is no one that knows.
No one.
Because the next book's not out yet. So
no one. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is the last From Blood and Ash book published to date.
Yeah. So next week we will see that conclusion. Gosh, I wish I could say I can't wait. On that note, though, we hope that you've enjoyed this kind of flashback book so far. We are very much enjoying it, and we will see you next time from Blood, Books, and Binge-Watching.